talking community outreach, thoughts on Detroit, previews, picks, all that and more coming up next on the USFL podcast.
1, 2, 3.
Welcome back, everybody, to another amazing edition of the USFL podcast. I'm the ref representing USFL Newsroom, the leaders in USFL news. It's been a good week. It's been a great past couple weeks, and boy, oh boy, do we have many more coming up. But before we get into it, I'm joined, as always, by my man, Zach Kyleman. How you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good, all things considered, from the end result at Ford Field last week for my Michigan Panthers. Overall, though, I'm settled back in after another fun time in person with some fans of ours and buddies of the show. All things considered, great times in Detroit all around, and good week of football, of course, accompanying to it. It just adds for a nice 1-2 punch for you. And we're getting episode 55 on the docket today.
Double fives, getting hype. I mean, five's a good number. It's got hard edges. It's got round edges. It's got it all, just like this episode. And hey, guys, blame it on me. Put it on the ref. We do got a t-shirt winner, and we're just going to go right into it. Otherwise, We will forget. Pierce Sports Productions, you are the lucky winner of a spring stock t-shirt with many autographs. We're talking J. Mar Smith, Bo Scarborough, Air MBT, future USFL legend, and many more on this t-shirt. It's yours. You need to do this. You need to hit us up on social media, just like everybody else, at USFL Podcast. Drop us a DM over on Twitter. We'll swap some deets, and we'll get it your way. But here's the skinny, folks. If old Pierce Sports Productions ain't in our DM old box by Thursday, we're announcing another winner next week. So you can hope for him to not answer us, or hey, you better be paying attention, buddy-o, Bucky boy. Anyway, social media, like I said, you might as well be following us because we're dropping all the good times at USFL Podcast, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We're going to even get a dance. I might make a dance for summer stock. I might do it. I don't know. It's going to, it'll be Grease themed. I don't know, baby.
Should.
Let's go.
You should.
But you should be following us there because that's where you're going to see it, buddy. And here's the deal. Once we get to 5K over here on YouTube, we're giving away a jersey. And you got to be subscribed, but you also got to click the bell. It builds morale. And you know what, Zachy boy? For once in a lifetime, I don't need some morale this week, and we're going to talk about that a little bit coming up. But
you do not.
You know what else gives you morale, Zach? A big old fat discount. Head over to Breaking Tees. They even got a new West Hills t-shirt. They got a Reggie Corbin t-shirt. You can get 10% off that order using coupon code USFL Newsroom, or just head over to the link breakingt.com/USFL Newsroom. And who doesn't like some good USFL merch? And Zach, before we get into the news, it might be a few weeks away, more than a few. Summer stock. I got a question. I need you guys to answer down in the comments below. We put a poll on Twitter, but I understand not everybody follows us on Twitter. I don't know why, but they don't follow us on Twitter. Not everybody does. Here's what I need to know down in the comments below. Tailgate, outside, barbecue, drinks, having a good time, regular old football stuff, or should we head indoors to Don Shula's American Kitchen? We need to know. I'll tell you this, online on Twitter, a good amount of people want the tailgate. Now, here's the thing. Tailgate, there's weather, but I'm willing to risk it if the fans want it. I ain't scared of the weather. Zach, I'm curious. What do you think?
Oh, I think we should do a tailgate. personally. I've been wanting to do. I would say much like last year, another one like spring stock again like that, where we were outside. And this year, that's one thing they were saying is the concept for the tailgate A should be less construction than last year, but B, it's going to be a little more organized as to where we might be tailgating at. That's the key. Think about this. Where do you think we would put the tailgate? Because we got a few ideas. One of them's a pretty nice spot. All things considered, if you are in Canton, Ohio, and if you do vote for the tailgate, we're going to talk about going there first and foremost. Might be easy for you to attend if you catch my drift. Might be pretty accessible, like right in front of a few places. Just going to leave those hints out there for you. But I want the tailgate. I want to be able to be Chef Kyleman over here cooking some barbecue ribs. I got a great recipe for ribs that I'm going to bring. If we do it, get a charcoal grill or something like that, or get one of our local friends to bring us a grill. It's this great recipe where you kind of put it in and it cooks all the way. Basically, we can cook it through summer stock because it takes 2 hours to do. You get beer, you get a bunch of seasonings on, you cook that bad boy, you glaze it up. It's the best recipe I've ever found, and it's from one of my mother's teacher co-workers from years past. Best ribs in town. Wow. And I'll make them at summer stock. I know the recipe by heart. I will do this, but we got to go to summer stock and tailgate outside though.
Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to that. So I'm hoping you guys vote tailgate, but you know what we can announce? I don't care if it's like 7 weeks away, Zach. We got a day one. We did a day one. We did a day two last year. We did it with spring stock. So, we got to do it with summer stock. Day one. What would that be? June 30th. June 30th.
Yeah.
June 30th. It's crazy. Spanning 2 months, Zach, how big spring stock and summer stock can get. Who would have thunk it? We're doing a group tour of the Hall of Fame. Everybody loved it last year. That means we're doing it again this year. And you know what? You live, you learn. Now we need a big flag to walk around like a little, what do they call it? A field trip. We'll be like the field trip group with the flag because we learned last year we lose some members. But day one, mark your calendars, June 3rd. Do you live in Canton? Well, hey, it makes it easy. Are you heading in town for the championship? Well, get signed up with the USFL podcast, boys, because nobody throws a party like the USFL throws a party, or the USFL podcast. Well, both of us. Both of us. What am I talking about here? We're at the biggest party of the summer.
And hey, maybe you haven't been to Canton in a while, but like I said, we saw last year. Ever since it had been several years since my last time I was there, and they have done a lot to upgrade that. My thing I'm thrilled for is to see the village grow year over year because Ducky, our man on the ground, he has definitely been sharing to us some stuff that they've been putting in, and wow, it's been impressive. That Don Shula's, that's one of them actually. That's one of the additions because of the Hall of Fame Village that is there now. But definitely for the Hall of Fame, check it out. And if they do it like last year, I bet the league does this like last year. Could be wrong, but last year they gave a discount to people that bought tickets to the Hall of Fame to go see the championship. Just saying, I wouldn't put it past you. It's a speculative thing. There's nothing confirmed to this, but given the league's relationship with the Hall of Fame, might be an easy way for it to score some even cheaper some cheaper tickets to go and see arguably the highest performing teams of the year play each other on the biggest stage. Yeah,
or in other words, the gamblers. I mean, the gamblers are going to be there. We're going to be 10-0, 10-0 all in.
To be fair, I was going to say you did get your first of your quote unquote 10-0 streak this week. So I can't flack you because you do have something to at least put behind it. It was a good game, by the way.
It was a good game.
Like the best game of the week, honestly.
100%. So before we get into that, let me just do a quick, brief recap of all the games here. Opening up the weekend, I mean, boy, oh boy, possibly another game of the week. We had the New Orleans Breakers taking on the Stallions at home. And you know what? The Breakers came out on top 45-31, giving the Stallions their first loss on the season. Heading later that afternoon, my favorite game of the weekend, the Memphis Showboats taking on the Gamblers. Gamblers securing their first victory 30-26 in a back-and-forth matchup. Day two, Maulers and Stars 21-13. Who would you thunk it? It's the Maulers coming out on top, turning things around, getting their luck on a team that is a reckon to be had. Last game of the day, Michigan Panthers at home for the first time at Ford Field, taking on the Generals. But you know what? Maybe they just got in their head a little bit too much. They take their first loss of the season, 28-13. So, Zach, overall, fun weekend, great weekend, hectic weekend. I mean, I was all over the place. You know, I posted this over on Twitter. The first thing I did when I landed, I went to Telway. I went to Telway Burger, and damn, was it better than I remembered. It was so good. And my buddy was driving me home. He said, hey, you want to get some food? I mentioned White Castle. He said, oh, the White Castle by me closed, which is astounding. Then I started looking up.
Reality right there.
Yeah, well, I looked it up. Not a lot of them are 24 hours. Then he said, what about Telway? And my mind exploded. I said, why didn't I say Telway in the first place? Oh, boy. Oh, boy, was that was the best meal I've had maybe in the last decade. It was so good. It just slide right down your throat. Little greasy package of garbage. Now, what's funny, Zach, is I get a text from my parents who are in Michigan today.
Okay.
Guess what they send me a picture of?
Telway.
They went to Telway. They tried to throw it in my face. They're like, look at where we're at. And I said, oh, no. I was just there a couple days ago.
Joke's on you.
Joke's on you.
Already was in.
I just didn't throw it in your face because I'm a good son. Anyway,
I'm laughing at the joke, not that
No.
I'm not laughing at thinking you're a good son or something like that.
I'm all sorts of bad, Zach. I'm all sorts of bad. But anyway,
I
we're
missed
not
out
here.
I missed out on Telway, so I gotta mark that one down again. I did get a little family time with the folks and Grandma Kay at the meetup. We promised it. She was there. We got photos with her there. And by the way, she had a great time over at Ford Field. And I think that's its own thing. Is the crew for the USFL in Detroit? They did a fantastic job. Huge crowd. Incredible looking venue. I know that some people commented on the paint thing, on the turf, but that is because that's what the one exception to the rule.
And let me just say this:
stenciling,
it looked clean.
That's what I was gonna say.
Clean as hell. You know what? Maybe I'm a sucker for that Honolulu blue. And you know what? We'll talk about this more when we get to the game recap. I may have given the Panthers my bad luck. I may have rubbed off on you guys for the weekend. But anyway, my love for that Honolulu blue, when I saw it there with the white stencil, my first instinct wasn't, oh my God, they didn't color in the logo. My first thought was, whew, ooh, that's clean. That is flipping clean, man.
Yeah, I didn't. No. And I was going to finish that. I didn't have problems with it. It was good. And again, you want me to even add in any more? Like, hey, you land a venue like Ford Field, that venue and the team that is technically residing there will get some of its own says. So I completely get it, but it still looked fine. They use the white colored kind of the stencilized version, or at least an uncolored version of the league logo all over the place anyway. It's even used on the banners in the stadium. So it's not uncommon to see. And it looks solid. It looks solid. I liked the presentation. I thought that the team itself and the USFL did a fantastic job with the in-person experience, whether it was photo ops, whether it was shopping experiences. Ford Field has a great plethora, of course, of food options.
They got a big boy in that bad boy.
They do.
They got a big boy in that bad boy. I mean, sign them up. Sign them up.
Me and my grandmother, maybe it's a while since I've had a Ben's pretzel, but we picked out, she was like, I want a pretzel. Give me that Ben's pretzel. And I'm like, okay, I'll go get a pretzel. And I was like, wait a minute, this is a pretzel? Because you don't think of pretzel being like a flat top, like kind of like grilled type of pretzel.
Sure.
But they do them like that. And it was like, how have I missed out on this? Just random thing, like a random memory. I'll have that forever. I got her a t-shirt, one of the beige colored ones, which they sold a lot of the newer shop items there too, including I got a Gimme the Ball Reggie Corbin t-shirt from Breaking Tea. So soon enough, it's in the wash. I forgot to get it done before the show, but next show you'll get to see it in the flesh. So if you're on the fence about a Breaking Tea item, trust me, they're worth it. I have a few of them myself. I can tell you it's good quality stuff. But I think Michigan was the big draw this week to see how that would turn out. It did turn out well.
It was big, man.
Told us they turned out well. I mean, it was a great first week, and they have three straight more of these games coming up. And look, I know the Panthers didn't win this one, to me, they still are one of the top 2 teams in the North. They're going to get a win sooner rather than later in this home stretch, and that crowd will be ecstatic when they leave Ford Field very soon, I think.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the crowd was popping. I was popping. Everybody around us was having a good time, getting loud, right? I know you want the win, but either way, I think people were in it until the end. I mean, the Motor City Meetup, too. I mean, we, like you said, Grandma Kyleman was in the house. We had a pretty decent group show up. The Panthers social media people showed up, and I feel bad because, like, right when they left, our party doubled in size. So it is what it is.
And again, guys, this event was a little more impromptu than like spring or summer stock. I mean, to be honest with you, we were still debating if we were going to be even going. I mean, think about this. It's been 2 weeks since spring stock. So we're usually and right now are in the planning phases of summer stock. But the league kept telling us it's going to be a big event. You guys should be there if you can, if you're able to. We'd love to see you there. And we did get out there. We were both able to pull it off. And I have no regrets. New friends met, old friends revisiting and saying hi to once again. It's everything you'd imagine from it. And again, I got to go watch my favorite football team in the USFL play. And I was a legit fandom in there. Besides the collared shirt I had, which, by the way, rock that bad boy. Thank you again, Bill Alexander. You got at least 10 people asking you for merch. But I had to give them, it was a full custom deal, just to let them slide. But, did that. Yelled my ears off, which I have a bit of a raspy voice, not too much, but you can tell I was definitely getting into it on the sidelines.
Oh yeah,
great day.
I'm looking forward to Motor City Meetup too. I don't know when it's going to be. It probably ain't going to be this year, folks. I mean, we got summer stock to plan. We got summer stock to travel to, but trust me, I would love to go. I mean, we met some great people out there. I'm looking forward, maybe a new correspondent. We'll see. We'll keep that on the hush hush
maybe so.
For just now. We'll see. Summer stock, that's next up. Maybe spring stock will be in Detroit next year. I will say that will be a bit chilly of a spring stock, but if we get an indoor venue, maybe not. We already got a good rapport with the Brass Rail Pizza Bar. I think I got the name right there.
I was going to say, remember, folks, chili is different between him and I, so you gotta distinguish that a little bit.
No, I don't know. I'm going to say early April, mid-April in Detroit is chilly. But you were the one walking around in the shorts, no sleeves.
Ask.
I'm dying out there with a sweater and khaki pants on, man. But then we got to that cigar bar. Boy, oh boy, that was nice. That was a great way to cap off the weekend before I head back to beautiful sunny Texas where it was 85 degrees. I think it was snowing when I left, 85 when I landed. You had the travel delay on the way there. I had the travel delay on the way back. I got 2 hours, not too bad, but it wouldn't be a USFL podcast traveling trip if one of us or both of us didn't get delayed. That's just part of the rapport. But you know what? Enough about us. Enough about the past. Well, not really about the past. Let's look at a little bit more of the past. Week three.
Look more of the games.
First game up, Breakers, Stallions. MBT, I mean, he's holding the streak. The Stallions played well, but not as good as the Breakers. I don't know if anyone can stop the Breakers this year. If the Stallions could, again, they'd still have a lot of injuries on their plate.
They do. I mean, they do. That being said, I was, I didn't think it was going to be that a 45-31 affair. And even then, I thought if it wasn't for the fact you had 2 sacks on one of the final Stallions drives, we could have had it where you could have saw an onside kick attempt go in on a 4th and 12. Because I imagine Holtz would have pulled out that string.
Oh, sure.
And would have played that hard. And the only reason it came to that was, the fact that the Breakers offense, it is in every category, or at least all the major ones that matter, it's leading in the league. And if you don't believe me, well, the league, the Breakers themselves even put out the stat leaders.
Oh, yeah.
And it feels like every category, rush yards, pass yards, and reception leaders, all are on the Breakers offense.
Oh, yeah.
John DeFilippo has this machine rolling. as well as the fact that Wes Hills is leading in rushing touchdowns too. Something I also want to point out with Wes Hills, he didn't run in week 1. He didn't have a single carry in week 1, and he's leading the league. 2 weeks in, he's had an 110-yard game in week 2, and then he followed it up by having a 191-yard rushing game, and basically was the second half offense that put the Stallions to really bed in this game. I mean, seriously, MBT through the third quarter was already pushing a 300-yard game, and John DeFilippo said, "You know what? Screw it. We're just going to flip it around. We'll just bully them." And they essentially bullied them the rest of the way down. Beyond that, I mean, MBT, you can't say too much more than we have. He's been everything as advertised coming in. He's done pretty much everything as spotless as possible. The only blemish on the day was the fact that he had a blitz off the edge that he just couldn't throw it away in time. And it was a beautifully intercepted pass.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
Other than that, I mean,
well, it's crazy.
Beyond that, he's finding tons of targets all across the board. In terms of just this past weekend alone, he found 8 different targets to throw to. That's great distribution. And, getting Jonathan Adams involved. D. Anderson looked great. Surratt's still hitting it. And Morris, he seems to have a play every game.
Oh, yeah.
So far this year. One good play a game, and it's usually one that's an impact play. So, defensively, can't say too much about it, or offensively, I can't say too much more than that. Defensively, they're opportunistic. They got the job done. When you got an offense that can outrun people like that, you just got to do enough to give your share of the side. And I think Vontae Diggs and Gerard Fernandez were happy to get that revenge game under their belt, because they were even talking at spring stock. They wanted this one.
Oh, yeah.
And so did John DeFilippo. He said at the Daytona 500 to Skip's face,
right to him,
and he got the win.
Yeah. You know what? He backed it up. He said it, but he backed it up. The craziest part to me is we're potentially seeing MBT pass 1,000 yards next week or this weekend coming up. He's at 837, 837 passing yards in the first 3 weeks. Like you said, Wes Hills 301 without even running a play in that first game. Sage Surratt 257 yards. What is this team? This team is a scary, scary monster of a team. And I mean, this was the thing that they needed, because last year they went 0-3 against the Stallions. No messing around. They got that first win, and I'd say they got it convincingly. Would I be worried as a Stallions fan? No. I think they're fine. I think they're good to go. Will we see the Breakers win both of these games? Who knows, right? I think we're going to see a close game next time around too. But you know what? The Breakers get that win. I think they were just a little bit hungrier, and they were a little bit less beat up, right? That's a big thing here. Stallions are beat up.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Birmingham, they could use especially some help in the level. I would say the 2 secondary levels in particular. Now, Scooby Wright, it sounded like in the post game that it sounds like Scooby is closer to, at least Sipholta said Scooby's closer to coming back. So that should help tremendously, because they do need, for run support, you need to have a good quality linebacking core in there. No offense to Nate Holley, but they could use more than just Nate Holley in there to kind of pack things down. Scooby's health is prominent to get that back in order a little bit, and maybe get a little more pressure on the quarterback as well, which could have been used against MBT. As for the secondary, I mean, that's something they're going to have to tinker with all year. I mean, good teams like that, if they can find splash plays as needed, which, again, the Breakers really didn't have many drives that stalled. They did really all what they wanted all game. That's going to be a question that Skip Holtz and company are going to have to sit down and kind of talk this one through a little. So something to think about moving forward. I also think for the Stallions, if you are looking at things to consider, I was surprised at how bad the run offense was in this game for the Stallions, given the fact that the week prior, and sure, it's the Showboats, but it felt like they found a good dynamic with Zaquandre Wright and CJ Marable. The Breakers came in and they kind of made him one-dimensional. And Alex Magoo was able to do what he pleases. He still had an excellent day. 238 on his own regard, obviously 2 TDs. Did throw a pick, but again, when you're throwing 238, you have a QBR 104, and you're making plays like you usually have on the run. I mean, he's doing as much as he can, but you need to have a little more support in that regard to kind of balance it out. So those 2 things, especially when they play the Breakers next, that'll be crucial if they want to get that game back.
100%. Now, Moving on to the later game, Zach, man, am I a happy little boy down in Texas, Houston, Texas,
Yes, you
to be
are.
specific, because our gamblers, they're finally fulfilling the prophecy. 10-0, one down, 9 games
One
left
down.
to that championship. And you know what? The picture I get with that championship this year is going to be that much sweeter when it's a gambler's trophy. And this is the beginning of it all. We took out the Showboats in an exciting game, a game of back and forth, a close game at the end, 30-26. I think there's problems that need to be sorted on both sides. I think that's easy to say. Am I happy we got a win? Oh, hell yeah, I'm all in. I'm all in on a win. But from an outsider's perspective, Zach, lay it on the line. What do you got here?
What do I got here? I think that the gamblers did something that at least I think was a hurdle from last year to get over, which is they finished this time. Because this looks so much like a prototypical 2022 Gamblers game. You have 16 unanswered points from the Showboats. They hold pretty much all the cards. It's a minute 50 on the clock. And Matt, you have Houston setting the scene at about the 45-yard line. They could have had this drive stall out to where they would have maybe tried a long field goal with Nick Vogel. And sure, that could have sent it to OT. I have no doubts Nick Vogel could hit a field goal from a far distance, 50-plus yards. But it's a little more likely you could have some tragedy along the way that has been typical of a Gamblers fan in a year plus. But you know what happened? They found Josh Peterson over the middle. They went down inside the red zone, 1st and goal, and they set things up. And you know what happened? Some magic happened. Justin Hall, who has been one of the godsends for this team. That is one of the best new players in this league is Justin Hall. And again, Ball State alum myself, I am definitely always going to be rooting for Justin Hall. That's the guy, if I'm going to be rooting any Gamblers bits on this show, it's for that man right there, because I'll take it. He is a special player from that had played out in Muncie, and he showed out 2 TDs, one being the most vital, the go-ahead touchdown that sealed the deal. And Cole Kelly got to get one more Hail Mary, but it was kind of a duck. It wasn't making the end zone. And pretty much the Gamblers did what they needed to. And what's crazy is that even with that finish, the most talked about play comes from the Showboat side with Ryan McDaniel, because that is a web gem.
Oh yeah.
It was such a good juggling catch. And really, it did feel like the momentum fully swung back to where you were going to expect the Showboats to get just enough on that side of the ball, and it just crumbled down within a few plays. That's the thing. The floodgates couldn't hold back any longer was the problem, and Houston did pull out a win that felt like they should have been a win at least through the third quarter for that sake. Something I will mention as I talk about Cole Kelly too. Kelly, I think, gets the job after this, and it's when you see a guy throw 307 and kind of lead his offense in the second half the way he did, showed some poise, showed leadership on that sideline and in the huddle during the second half. I think that speaks words, and he's going to probably be your guy moving forward. And I think that's for the best. Also, as much as they did lose key guys like Rashard Davis as well during this game, I think your best receivers are Ryan McDaniel and guys like Osiris Mitchell or John Mitchell as well. So we're finding new folks that might be better contributors in this case. McDaniel, I think, is their number one now. I thought it was going to be Derek Dillon or Rashad Davis. It's Ryan McDaniel's the guy.
For sure.
He's shown
for
that.
Now.
He's going to be that number one option.
For now. I mean, week by week, these things change, but you know what? Another 2-3 weeks of performance, that's your guy for sure. I think that's where we're leaning here. Either way, exciting game. One of my happier, I had so many happy moments over the weekend. I had a blast. Smile hasn't left my face, but you know what? A nice little cherry in the middle there. Next day, though, I think this is probably the most shocking game of the weekend. We got the Maulers. We got the Stars. Keystone State Battle. I can't remember what they called it last year.
That you hit it right on the head.
Hey,
exactly.
Sign me up. Every now and then I remember something. Again, I think this is probably the most shocking game of the weekend. When just the discussion online, seeing people talk about before the game, during the game, and after the game, I'm so happy to see the Maulers get a win. This was like the underdog week here with the Gamblers and the Maulers getting a win. Stars, I mean, they came out hot in the beginning. Right? I was there for maybe the first quarter of the game before I headed over to the Motor City Madness. And it was a close game while I was there. And then those field goals, man, the Maulers and those field goals, they just put them up. Defense, dude, I mean, their defense came out huge. Boogie Roberts made a huge play in that game. And so you couple that with a touchdown, and man, it looks like on paper they clobbered the Stars. Either way, super exciting game. Super happy to see the Horton family pulling that win for the Maulers. I mean, I saw some clips during that game of, both father and son in their respective duties, and they look like they were having a blast. And this is something that they can go cheers a beer about after that game. Thoughts, Zach? What did you see here? Now, keep in mind, we all watched this on my cell phone at Motor City Meetup. So
next year, Brass Rail, you got to take the request and put the thing on the TV. I know it was on the back TV, but like a lot of people couldn't see it. We'll get it next year, fully organized. It's a small issue, but we got to watch the game. What I will put down for this one is pretty simple. Pittsburgh, your defense is pretty good. If you're a Maulers fan, I don't think you should have any qualms. That's what your bread and butter is right now. Ray and Jaron Horton, especially Jaron, they've kept basically status quo. It was the best part of last year's team. They have evolved it to be even better somehow. A lot of good additions in the offseason has helped that much so. And what it allowed to do in this one is give the Maulers a little bit more time to get something going on offense. At least it felt like this week there were steps in the right direction. Last two, part of it being the fact that you have two quarterbacks that they're fighting over who's going to get that job during the season, which again was weird, but hey, you know what? They picked Troy Williams, and as we talked in the last show, I agree with that decision because Williams is a more mobile option. As you saw, even though he only threw for 96 passing yards, he still ran for 65. That is a good thing for the fact that Williams can escape the pocket. You can run designs if you want with him. He can get away. Morgan's not as mobile. So that line, which is still a work in progress for Pittsburgh, that helps a lot. And it did open up opportunities for them when needed. What did also help was the defense giving them opportunities as well. The Maulers' lone touchdown of the day, you can thank that for a forced fumble sack that was put in place and recovered by Boogie Roberts during that contest, which, I mean, simple as that. Bailey Gaither's there and scored the first offensive touchdown for the Maulers season on that pass. Something with the Stars, I know they didn't really address it as much. It didn't feel like they did in the offseason, but man, that offensive line issue has become glaring now. And I know that Cook, you can maybe, some people could point, I saw point the finger at Cook as, yeah, he threw 2 picks again, which was weird to me to say again that he threw multiple interceptions in a game, but look at the tape. What's happening usually when he's throwing interception? There was one overthrow, I'll give you that, but just like last week against the Panthers, he's got pressure in his face, he's getting hit. He doesn't have much time to get rid of this ball. He's getting abused back there.
Yeah.
I mean, if Bart Andrus is sitting there, he's like probably cringing harder every time that man takes a hit because he knows this happened last year. It's the same thing that happened last year. Philadelphia, they have a potent offense buried underneath that offensive line that if they can just get a little more time and if they can just kind of get something else going, run game, it hasn't been as present so far through 3 weeks. Matt Colburn, I haven't seen the same Matt Colburn I was expecting, and I think a lot of that has to do with that line's not producing right now. I don't usually like kind of throwing everything on the offensive line's issue, but that is Philadelphia's main problem is if you can't protect your QB, if you're getting him sacked, if you're getting pressure in his face where he can't accurately get a ball thrown, turnovers and failed drives are going to be aplenty, and this was a prime example. Pittsburgh won this game for the fact that they had a better defense, and they were able to generate just enough offensively to get things going. And I mean just enough. They only had 202 total yards. This was a very much a slugfest of slugfests, but they were able to do just enough and had enough talent to give their weapons time to get downfield. Philadelphia's got to fix that fast because the North, if you take a loss to Pittsburgh like this, the Generals, which we'll talk in a minute, they look like they're fully back because they made a good decision this week too. And Michigan, even though it's a down week, they just beat you, and they look like they're better than you right now. Hurry it up. Time's running out. It's already
short
week 4.
season.
You're 1-2 right now.
Short season. I mean, yeah, what I saw the Maulers happy. Some of the things, like you said, the O-line for the Stars, that is key to, I mean, you made it to the championship last year, but I think it's key to winning it. Oh, I know. Well, even week 2, we saw Case Cookus. Now, again, to his credit, he said, no, coach, leave me in. And I think everybody was like, I don't know about that. But then he goes on to bomb it down the field. I mean, the chef is going to be cooking. You know what? But you can only take so many hits before it really starts doing some damage. And I mean, we got to keep these guys ready for those playoffs coming up, you know?
Right. Well, here's the way I look at it. The chef can cook, but you also need to have a good staff and crew in that kitchen to help you with it. If you have some sous chef that's not giving you the vital things needed to prepare a good dish, what's the point of having that top level chef? You need to have your full team of staff and restaurateurs working alongside. I know it was a food joke.
No, I was about to say you need your mise en place if you don't have all your stuff in the right places.
I'm a Michelin star podcast.
Yeah, there we go.
But the point being, if you can't give him enough time, if you can't give him the required time and durations and at least protection to let him do what he needs, Cookus is an MVP style QB in this league. We saw it last year. It's no fluke. Mm-hmm. This man can sling it. We know last year they were I would say possibly one broken arm away or one broken leg away from getting a championship for Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. And sure, some people in Birmingham, I know, watch the show are like, well, now hang on. I'm like, look, we saw the momentum of that game. And, that was a result, again, of pressure. He's getting hit a lot. Mm-hmm. You can't have him get hit this much. It's already week 4. And you've seen 3 games where he has been just whacked every single time. That's why if I'm Bart Andrus, I'm like, I'm going to keep trying to tinker and do what I can. But like at some point, I feel like you're almost going to start seeing, maybe not right away, but midway through the year, maybe week 5, might start seeing some transactions on the wire because I think some offensive adjustments need to be coming here pretty soon. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you're going to see Kevin Thompson and company or Costello out there soon enough. One of these guys is going to step out there soon because Cookus can't get those hits.
For sure.
You can't do that.
Not consistently like that. But hey, you know what? Every week it's its own week. You can always rebound. Which, you know what, Zach, I think we're going to talk about a little bit right here. Talking about rebounds and missed weeks. Rebounds. Generals and the Panthers. I mean, all eyes were on this game for many different reasons, right? You had the Panthers going into this game 2-0. You have the Panthers going to the Ford Field for the first time, playing at home. Playing in Michigan for the first time since the 80s, right? There was a lot on the line.
Heck yeah.
And then, Zach, I don't know if you remember this. Everybody we've asked, whether it's Spring Stock or other interviews, when we talk to them about the hubs, what is the hub you're most looking forward to playing into? Unanimous, the answer, Ford Field. Now, if you may, maybe that has a little bit to do with the outcome here. Generals, it's one thing. You're the away team. Okay. Well, Zach, it's funny because I wasn't going to go there, but now I am going to go there because I see what you're laughing at. What I was going to say is, as a Panther, you're going into this biggest stadium in the league. It's an NFL stadium. You're going into this game, maybe a little bit more jitters. Now, where I think you were laughing is I think you may think that I was going to equate maybe some kind of curse that Ford Field possibly has on some of their football teams. Now, I won't lie, Zach. There was many times during this game when the flag would go flying, I said, well, hold on now here. Is this a Lions game? Am I on candid camera? Am I at a Lions game? But no, I wasn't. I was at a Panthers game. It's some could say it's poetic. But I would say, you know what? Maybe a little bit to the nerves going into that game, because there's one thing I can tell you. The Panthers that played this past Sunday weren't the Panthers that we saw in week 1 in person or week 2 on TV. But the Generals at the same time, I mean, Riley and co, bro, he knows how to tear apart a team. So there is that as well. I mean, you got to imagine that they looked at that Panthers footage, and you know what they did? They shut down Reggie Corbin. They shut down Stevie Scott. They did a good job putting pressure on Josh Love. And then when the team put Carson Strong in, man, I hate to say it, but his targets were just too low or off or too high, just too much pressure, not enough time to think. And so hats off to the Generals, man. I mean, hats off to them. But you, Zach, you're the Panthers boy here. Are you concerned, or is this just a fluke?
I think it's a fluke. I'm going to call it a 1 week hangover from getting such an emotional win over Philadelphia the week prior in the rain and / snow in Canton, Ohio. I'm going to put it as that, but I do want to mention that, as I had said, I thought Michigan could have pulled this game off. I had questions about New Jersey. Were they going to keep doing the 2 QB system? And you know what Riley did? He chose one. And thank God he chose one. Thank God for any Generals fan out there. And this is me grinding my teeth. Thank God that he picked one quarterback, the one he should have been all along, in DeAndre Johnson, because it paved the way to that was the first time this year I saw the Generals team I saw last season. And that's freaking me out, because DeAndre Johnson, I'm telling you, people seem to have forgotten when he was in last year before Luis Perez had to step in because of injury. He was the guy. He was a monster behind the line. He was able to drop dimes. He can run and get out in space wide open. We saw he can go and option it off to Darius Victor. They got Trey Williams back in the game this week. Again, talking about reminiscing last year, Williams had been inactive up until this week, and he's back in. They had everything they wanted offensively. And part of that, to me, is because Mike Riley picked a guy. And he even acknowledged that to James Larson, our photographer and guy on the scene, when he went to the press conference. They picked one. And I'm going to applaud them for that, saying thank you, because you should have done that all along. Even though I know there was a bit of a discussion with that, I get it. But you see the results. Having one person like that, someone that is a multifaceted weapon and gets to be in the flow with his guys, it pays dividends. They look the best they've been all year. And DeAndre Johnson is definitely the guy for the job, as we saw him. And he was a monster out there.
Well, and Darius Victor just continued rolling. And I mean, I love his comment on social media about being a human bowling ball. I love it. You know what? Sign him up. Thick thighs save lives. I watched that in person. I said, oh my God.
There was a Generals fan that came to the game with a Thick Thighs Save Lives t-shirt and showed him pregame. Like he came over there, had seen the jersey, and I guess the guy had it underneath his jersey, and it was freaking cool. Darius Victor did it. I mean, I'm not going to lose any sight on that. That dude is still at the same level he was last year as of right now, and he's doing it in every phase currently. Again, had a massive screen pass for a touchdown, took it all the way to the house himself. 4th and 1. What does he do? Hits with a B gap. I believe it was the B gap. Last I saw the film on the left side of the line. Stiff arms a man hard into the turf, and runs his way for, casual 41-yard rushing touchdown. I mean, this offense has so many weapons on the run game alone. And that's really been their bread and butter. But then, of course, you see what happens if you give DeAndre Johnson more time to get in tune with his guys. We saw it late in this contest in the 4th quarter when, I thought Michigan was going to be there. I was like, okay, if we can get a stop, it's 21-13. We got this. And then DeAndre Johnson, 1st and 10, drops a 72-yard touchdown pass to Alonzo Moore. I throw my hands up in the air and say, well, it's been fun. And that's the thing. This is the Generals team we were expecting coming into the season. That's a scary team. And it makes the North completely a mess right now, because if Michigan loses to New Jersey, I mean, New Jersey's really now seeming like the certainty if this is the version we're getting right now. Michigan, I think, still is the number 2. But that being said, Pittsburgh's got a great defense, and they played the top teams in the league through the first few weeks, and that one of them was New Jersey. So the North is, in a nutshell, a madhouse right now. Yeah. 3 weeks in, I can't fully pin everything down. I think the most certain team now is New Jersey, because they picked a quarterback, because that defense is imposing, which, by the way, kudos to Riley's company for basically making Josh Love or Carson Strong's day a living hell in the backfield. And I'm not talking just pressures for sacks. Those guys got their hands up, batted ball after batted ball after batted ball. I could not tell you how many times I screamed from the crowd, knock those hands down, because all they were doing was just putting them up. Josh Love would throw a pretty shallow arch over the line, swat that bad boy away. And that kills drives. Oh, yeah. Momentum right away. That is a downer of a play when you have a batted ball.
100%.
And it happens all game like that. And it got frustrating. Players got drop, got basically sent to the sideline / ejected. It was, at least for the Panthers,
Yep.
Mike Nolan's squad definitely, by the fourth quarter, they just wanted to go
Wasn't
home.
their finest hour. But you know what? There was still a couple extra surprises in store at the game as a fan. Kelvin Flippin Johnson, Megatron in the house. Arms as wide as a whole flipping garage in the house. Getting signed up on that. We already knew about Bobby A. Bear.
Right.
We had Big E.
Tigers players.
Tigers players in the house as well. You know, I didn't go to the game, but I did look through the side and I saw part of an inning. So that counts. That counts. I saw into a Comerica Park game.
The street seats.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotta love them.
If it's free, it's me. You know what I say, Zach. If it's free, it's
Stop
me.
looking in there.
But overall, man, what a wild atmosphere. What a wild crowd. I'm looking forward to week 2. I wish I could be there for many, many, many reasons. But, man, I can't wait until the Motor City Meetup 2, the second Motor City Meetup, whenever that may be. Maybe it's next year. It ain't unless something amazing happens. It ain't going to be this year. But I would love it to be.
Yeah, no.
I could go for Telway all day. Sign me up.
Soon enough, we'll go back. I definitely am going to go back for the family and the friends up that way. Just not now. We got summer stock to get plans for, and I need a little bit of a slowdown, if you catch my drift.
I'm ready for summer stock.
For sure. I think, okay, so one last thing I do want to talk about, and I think some people are kind of wanting to hear our thoughts on this. So Todd Haley, let's just go back and step back with Todd Haley. I got to ask you, Stefan, is Todd Haley the new USFL villain? Is this the Kirby Wilson of 2023 right now? This is 2 weeks in a row. We've gotten an extracurricular comment at the end of a game, and people are going, Todd, what are you doing, Todd? What's going on, Todd?
I'll say it only makes me like Todd Haley more. I'll say that. So does that make him the villain of the USFL this year? Maybe. Maybe it does. I don't know. But sign up Todd Haley. What are your thoughts on it, Zach? I'm guessing you think otherwise because you're not a jerk like me. But
I think Todd Haley's very frustrated and is basically at wit's end at this point because last year we saw a very happy-go-lucky Todd Haley, and I'm talking one that was not like his Kansas City days where he was like yelling his ear off and like getting in at it with people. This year, things are starting to change, I think. I'm laughing just because, like I said, I'm like, what is going on?
0-3, that'll do it to you, man. That'll do it.
It'll do it, I guess. But like, I know Curtis Johnston, this is what kills me. He said this to 2 South Division coaches. He has to play these guys again later in the year. Skip Holtz being one of the most gentle giant of coaches.
I will say Skip Holtz, though, he kind of deserved it. I mean, he threw up at that last touchdown was, again, I talked about this. That's like some Madden 95. They're going to remember this the next time you play them. Like, no, but you know what? It's all fun and games. You got to give people those opportunities to get out there and score. But I mean, I kind of get it. I kind of get it.
But like, you have to see Skip again. But then Curtis, okay, at least Curtis says that was the interesting one because he tried to say something. Curtis goes, "Oh no, coach! Wait a minute, coach!" And he's still walking. The camera's following, and Curtis is just like, "You know what? Forget it." And the staff's like, "Yeah, just come on, man."
Who's it going to be next week, man? I mean, let's keep this.
He's got Nolan next week.
I want it. Let's have it, maybe. You know, Nolan. You just keep throwing up those points. You know how to get a rise out of Todd Haley. Anyway, what a fun week overall. And you know what? Last year, like you said, maybe Kirby Wilson the villain. This year, maybe Todd Haley. We're only 3 weeks in though, Zach. Twists and turns and M. Night Shyamalan. Anything can happen.
If anything, you were on the edge of your seat to see what Todd Haley says next. That's what it brings you to the table.
I'll tell you this.
Memphis
If there's any week to do it, this is the week Mike Nolan needs to come out in that 3-piece suit. Because I have a feeling Todd Haley, what are you trying to up show me over here with your 3-piece suit?
Straight kill him.
Oh, yeah.
Good game, my man. Throws the shades on, walks away.
Oh, my God. My goodness. So, we talked a lot about these games. We talked about the Motor City Meetup. You know, one thing that we haven't really talked about here. We have kind of in the past, but this is kind of an interesting take. Community engagement, Zach. We're still seeing, so we saw a little bit before the season, especially with the Stallions in Birmingham, kind of going out to the different, we saw them showing up at season ticket holders' houses. We saw them going to food fairs and different things like that, making sure that the community's taken care of. But you know what we haven't talked about, Zach? The hub system here. There's not just one team. There's 2 teams in each of these hubs, and they're also giving back to these communities. Now,
That's right.
It's kind of crazy because we see the USFL get a lot of flack for playing in hubs, whereas the XFL gets a lot of praise because they play in their cities. But you know what the big difference here is between the two? After that game, you know who's leaving? The XFL. They're going back to Arlington. These guys in the USFL, they're here for the long haul. They're taking care of their cities. They're building, realistically, you got to build a league from the ground up, right? You want it to be sustainable. You want to make an impact. You know what you have to be? You have to have feet on the ground. This isn't a dig at the XFL. Whatever it takes to make sure you get to a season 2, sign you up. But I'd be remiss not to point out here, my Gamblers, 10-0, all in, doing some charity work down in Memphis. We're seeing the Breakers doing some work down in Birmingham. And we're now starting to see them kick some things off in Detroit because, as you know, now they're starting that stretch to play out of Ford Field. Overall, this is a great thing for the league, right? You're getting your name out there. This is great for the community. And the long haul, Zach, the long haul, right? This isn't just this year. We're not going to play season 3. We might have new hubs in season 3, but I don't think we're going to see any of the home teams move to a new hub, right? Now, we saw some people flipping out about trademarks over the week and this and that. We've heard from people within the league, ain't nobody moving. Nobody's, as of now, nothing's changing. This is purely about getting those intellectual properties and trademarks. And honestly, Zach, to me, you know why they would want those old trademarks? Not necessarily for relocation purposes, for merchandise purposes. Now, you know what I bought at the game? Yeah. I bought a 1983 Michigan Panthers championship shirt at the USFL game, right?
I did see that shirt. Actually, it's funny because I thought it was just a exclusive product at the game. You can buy those now. Yeah. They're on the shop. I just found that out today. So it's really cool. Like I said, it's the retro logo, the champion, like I said, it's very retro throwbacky type of look. We're going to see more of that, but yeah, trademarks like those, that's much more for merch. Yeah. Expansion. We can talk about that maybe at some point, but it's really more for merch and to lock down teams from the past. Remember, they got a deal done with the old league. This is something, it's house cleaning because they got that deal done. So they're getting things down, and I agree. They're not Dallas Stallions. They're not moving the Stallions. Come on. They started in Birmingham. You'd be nuts. The city would basically shun them forever. If they did that, it would not happen. And also there's no reason to, because that's competition in the Dallas market. Wink, wink. There's another team kind of nearby. I don't know why you do that. So don't even think about it. No. But hey, if anything, talking about the places they are in, it's nice that even though we are talking about 6 teams in 3 cities in particular, we got another 2 in Canton.
Well, and they're even doing work out there because let's not forget, they're committed to Canton. They're committed to Canton, and they're putting in all the work.
I think it's a direct partnership with the Hall of Fame itself, the Village and the Hall of Fame in terms of a company, because the Hall of Fame is kind of the big thing that is the attraction to Canton, Ohio. It is one of the main things Canton is known for, the Pro Football Hall of Fame, the birthplace of football. So that commitment to Canton is definitely something that they've been putting down, I think, since the end of last season. And in the communities here, it is 6 teams, but they are trying to be part and to put the league in terms of the USFL as a brand that is definitely community focused. And it's been that way. We've seen teams visiting schools and talking to youth and having youth programs going on. Obviously all the hubs had youth programs going on before the season started, where you had football attendance for kids to go and do training and tryouts type of events with teams. You saw the Gamblers you're talking about with their interactions as well. It's not just that they're showing up and, doing whatever. This is charity work, helping feed the homeless type of things, packing volunteer lunches and whatnot. It's that type of work that, more than just the hub city teams are putting in, and that speaks numbers. Like I said, that's a big commitment to have that. And you get that week in and week out with those guys stationed in those local areas. So it's very much a vital part of the league's growth is, they want to be part of the community. It's not just to say are there. And I mean, some of them, like I said, Houston, Philadelphia, and as well as Houston, oh my God, and New Orleans. I can't believe I even forgot New Orleans because the guys over in New Orleans in terms of media have been doing a great job covering the Breakers. But, it's about showing the league that we are part of where you're at and we are going to grow this, and be example people in football.
Speaking of covering the Breakers, I want you to, again, no curtains on the show. Zach, I want you to write this down. You know who I want you to talk to?
Who do you want me to talk to?
That he does interviews everywhere. I feel like we could pull a string, maybe two. Let's try to get that bad boy on the show. Hopefully we won't curse him. That seems to be a thing sometimes.
No, and to give you some good hope, this is something what we're talking about. Had Reggie Corbin on previous week. Corbin went down with an injury during the game. I had a pit in my stomach because I'm like, Jesus, how am I? I mean, I've had players I've talked to, but some get cut, injuries happen, and it's just like not all, but a few. I've had a point where I'm like worried. And Corbin went down. He's probable to start this week. So
He'll
I'm like,
rebound.
I'm like, thank you.
He's ready to go.
Yeah, he will. He will, especially after a loss like that. He's gonna come in and kill him. But yeah, that was what I was worried about. It was like, don't tell me the curse is affecting this. He's fine. But yeah, no, Flip would be great. And I mean that, like I said, a lot of these players, coaches, it doesn't matter if it's going to be in a different city or not. They're happy to be in those cities and play football well. So, that's a lot of the deal, but it's been great to see a lot of posts and community engagement with these teams, seeing them get out and about. Every week you see something new. I think that they're out in the communities and doing things with. I'm still waiting. One thing I want to get is a video. Not saying that these guys would party on Beale Street, but I'd love to see the Showboats go to Beale Street, kind of, hype up the crowds out there. Like I said, we were out there, during the weekend, and when we were out there for week one, it's a fun time.
Maybe when they get their first
you could get some great video.
Maybe when they get that first win, that's how they'll go celebrate. Go down, get some BBQ on Beale Street. Before we get into this upcoming week's action, I got a little bit of a new segment that we're adding to the show. Question of the week. Going forward, we're going to put a question out on social media. It's not always going to be this question, but it might be a different question or the same. We'll have to see. This week's question, though, naturally, favorite moment of the week, almost unanimous, Zach. Before we go into that, let's kick into the question of the week. Little skit intro thing. Kick it. All right, guys. Question of the week, favorite moment of the week, favorite play of the week, whatever you want to say. Like I said, Zach, almost unanimous. We talked about it a little bit earlier. You know what? The Showboats, they got a little bit of a dub. If this is the dub, not the one they wanted, but it's the one they got. Ryan McDaniels, I mean, we had at least 3 different people in the comments. Ryan McDaniels' infamous catch in the end zone. It was a beautiful thing to see. Our dude, Christopher McDaniels, the McDaniels catch. I mean, everybody was going on about the McDaniels catch. And you know what? It's hard to disagree with them. Was it against my team? Yeah, that stings a little bit. But, man, you know what? We still got the win. You can have the favorite moment of the week. Zach, any other moments this week? I mean, beyond our personal moments with Motor City Meetup, being at the game at Ford Field, on TV, action style. Agree, disagree? What do you got?
Well, I think another one that gets overshadowed from the Gamblers Showboats Gamblers. I know it was a way difference, but nonetheless, the first of 2 matchups between these two. Hey, we had Alex Collins throw a touchdown pass as well on a beautifully executed trick play. I can't remember the last time I've seen a snap between the quarterback's legs to a running, like a direct snap like that. The last time I think of is we did that when I was in high school football, and that's a while ago now. I don't think I've seen it on live television for a game before, but that was fun. I had a fun time watching that one go on television. Great play, easily my favorite moment, and one of my favorite hot mic moments of the week, where you have Collins coming to the sidelines and going, "I'm like Lamar." That was just like Lamar. I was about to say Lamar Jackson, but he's implying Lamar Jackson as well. I love the hot mic stuff like that. Is what it is. That's my favorite moment. Just that entire play and what came after it on the sideline. Absolutely nothing from a specific football game at the end of the week, I think, for my fandom helped, but that particular one. It's good. A lot of good stuff from Memphis, Houston.
Well, did you see our friend Angelo from USFL today? He had his favorite moment. So I'll go ahead and read it for you, Zach. This one might be tough. He says, "The general spanking the Panthers behind." Man, that one's got a sting. But again, you play him again once more this season, maybe in the playoffs. I mean, that would be the playoff game to watch. So maybe you'll get your revenge on the next favorite moment of the week there. But I figured that one was worth calling out because I had a good chuckle out of it.
That would be wild. Yeah, I mean, kudos to you, Angelo. You got your win. Not really. I mean, there's nothing else I can really say. Maybe they did what they were expecting. Now I'm marking down week 7 when we match up and go to Canton, Ohio to play the New Jersey Generals in the next chance we get. So I'm waiting. Mike Nolan, it's time to get back
that
up.
Suit, 3 pieces
off the
and
mat,
more,
man.
maybe. I don't know. Talking about 3 and more, let's talk about USFL Week 4. Let's start going over these games. First, we got the picks. I got 1 win. Well, we both got a win last week. So I'm at 1 and 3. You're at 3 and 1. But you know what? Slowly but surely, I'm chiseling away at the hole that I made for myself. You get the first game up. I'm still going. I'm scared to make any homer picks, so I'm going to toss this one over to you. But we got the Gamblers at the Stars Fox, 1 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. Break it down for me, buddy. What do you see? Who you got?
I'm glad you had me lead off because I had been giving you the lead off the last 2 weeks, so I will definitely take the lead off for this one. Houston versus Philly, heading on over. They're going to play at Ford Field. Gamblers coming off a emotional last-second win against the Memphis Showboats, and Philadelphia's just need to find their way forward, getting another home game to themselves at Ford Field. Main thing is, I think we talked about it, and it's really just a simple thing for Philadelphia is how much time are you going to give Case Cookus? I think that is the main concern that has been just now through 3 weeks. How much time does Case Cookus get to operate offensively? And it's not like Houston can't get scored upon. It's been high-scoring affairs for them in terms of who you're playing, all 3 contests. Right now, we're talking about, let's see here, between Michigan putting up 29, 31, then you have another 26. I mean, we're talking at least about a 27, 28-point average per game defense is giving up at this moment in time. So maybe pushing 30. I know we gave up 38 against the Breakers. But my point being, there's opportunities to score here. You know, Houston's going to give you play time to score, but you need to give Case Cook his time to actually cook and work his magic with Corey Coleman, with Chris Rowland, with Jordan Sewell, guys that are good receivers. You can't throw to those guys unless you get time. And you need to get Matt Colburn going right out of the bat, something that, you know, I would say that we have not gotten as consistently as we were expecting this year. We need to see Matt Colburn start churning some yards and getting some plays out in space, maybe get him out in the flat. That's a good way of getting someone involved and getting a little less pressure. You give him some kind of flat routes to work on too. You can get him out in space, kind of open some things up, not just in the run. Houston, simple deal. Keep limiting the turnovers. You know, Kenji Bahar did better this week, I thought. He's been, I would say, consistently looking better than last year already, and finding more repertoire. Keep finding Justin Hall. Hall is just a dominant player right now. And if you keep feeding, one thing we didn't talk about in the last game that we saw this week, Mark Thompson's back. Keep feeding the beast. That man definitely is helping that offense as well. Philadelphia, what is their weakness, Stefan? We talked about this since last year. What is Philadelphia's weekend? Yes, that D-line. They are one of the worst rushing defenses in the USFL. Mark Thompson, feed the beast. Let him go beast mode out there. You're going to find opportunities. I think this is going to be a high-scoring affair, mainly because Houston, you know, I would say gives you opportunities to get scores as well. If I'm picking one, though, you know what? I lost faith in Philadelphia last week. I'm going with Houston. I'm picking the Gamblers.
10-0 all in.
I
Wise
think
choice.
it's gonna be a barn burner. I think you're not going to see the same defensive slugfest that you saw last week, but I gotta go with Houston. I think that there's a little more meat on that bone right now. I'm telling you, my faith in that line in Philadelphia, unless they get some adjustments quick, it's almost at zero. It's barely existing right now. So give me the Gamblers. I think you'll be able to win in a close game, but I'm taking Houston.
Yeah,
2-2, they're coming through.
I think you're choosing wisely. I agree with you. I think strike while the iron's hot. The Gamblers have the momentum. The Stars are coming off a loss. I think it's pretty easy to see if you look through the footage what you need to attack when it comes to the Stars and getting a win. We saw the Maulers do it last week. I guarantee the Gamblers, Coach Johnson, and everyone all involved is studying that tape, plus the first weeks as well. But they're really going to study that loss there coming from the Maulers, and I think we're going to pull it out. Will it be a close game? Yep. Will it be a nail-biter? Yep. Could the Gamblers screw it up? Absolutely, but they won't because we're going 10-0 all in. Next game, though, oh boy. We have the Showboats traveling to Ford Field, Michigan Panthers. I wish I was there, Zach, because I got a feeling, an inkling. I feel like this might be a bloodbath. If Todd Haley's going to be angry at any game, he might as well be angry at this one. 7:30 p.m. Eastern on NBC. So there's going to be a lot of folks watching it. Will the Showboats play? Yeah. Will they score? 100%. I think they're going to do better than they did against the Stallions. I think they're going to put up a little bit more offense. As we saw last week with the Gamblers, they made it a competitive game. But do they have the mustard to take out the Panthers? I don't think so. I've been proven wrong at least 3 times this season looking at my pick record.
Yep.
But I don't know. I'm just feeling like the Panthers, this is the perfect game to rebound off of from last week. Now, if they won last week, I might be making a complete different argument that this is the trappiest trap game of all time. But with the Panthers taking that loss last Sunday, I think this Saturday they're going to come into the game a lot more buttoned up. I think we're going to see probably Carson Strong in the game of the majority of the time. We're also going to see less pressure. I mean, that was the big thing that really threw them off this week is Coach Riley and team just hammering it on the Panthers, whereas I don't think we're going to see that out of the Showboats. I think they're going to rebuild some confidence. And you know what? I think we're going to see a Warren Saba week. I think the safeties are going to be out in full effect. And I'd feel bad to be any of the quarterbacks that are showing up for the Showboats this week because I feel like there's blood in the water and the Panthers want redemption. So book it right now. Panthers are getting the win in convincing fashion. Any thoughts on this game, though? You're the Panthers guy. What you agree, disagree? Am I missing anything here?
I don't think you're hitting it on the head. If anything, my main question mark going in, and it just could be because just how Josh Love was in this last one, and Carson Strong didn't fare better. Do you go back to Josh Love right out of the gate again, or do you say screw it and flip it around? I think you stick with Love just because he has been the most consistent of the two. He also has the most reps of the two, so that's another nod. But I'm hoping this week they got. If I'm Mike Nolan, if I am Eric Marty, I am preaching like, if you're doing drills, knock those damn hands down, or get that. Or if you're talking to Josh, get that ball higher up when you're throwing a route. Because that's something on tape wise that you can kind of catch on to if you're watching kind of tendencies and watching for, I would say, timing up this stuff. That's also something a good coaching staff will do. I don't know if that means the Showboats will have enough talent to take out the Michigan Panthers. If I'm being honest with you, I think the Panthers do take a win here. I don't see Nolan's crew having a second week where they just come out lying flat. And not to mention the Showboats, we talk about injuries with like the Stallions. The Showboats have a lot of injuries that are key players as well that have come out for this week. Like I said, you have Rashad Davis out. It's been revealed just as we're talking and recording, Alex Collins is also out for this week. Vinny Papali got knocked out last week. And that doesn't mean they don't have receiving options, but you just knocked out their main running back as well. Right. It's going to be a little harder sledding. I do think Cole Kelly gets the nod. He won that job, I think, fair and square last week and showed that he's the hot hand right now at QB, but I don't know if it's going to be an easy task. I got Michigan to me in a decisive win if I were picking in your spot. So yeah, that it really just, Panthers just need to come and play. They got Corbin healthy. They're going to have most of their top guys just got to come out and play like you're expected to.
Right on, right on. So that leads us to Sunday. Two hot teams here. This might be game of the week here. We got the Breakers taking on the Generals, NBC, 3 p.m. Eastern. Zach, what are you thinking here? This is your pick. This is your final pick of the week.
Is.
And I feel bad. I gave you a difficult one here.
This is tough.
You know what? That's how the dice fall sometimes.
This one is so tough, though. I mean, you are putting me in a position where I have to pick the best offense versus what I think is it makes the case for best defense in the USFL right now. I think Maulers fans will tell me otherwise, and I think you have a great argument, but the Generals also have a really damn good argument too. They've also allowed the least points in the league so far this season at 43 total. Remember, I mean, kept Michigan to 13 the week prior, kept Pittsburgh to 3, only gave up 27, which is, considering all things, and the fact that they were still figuring stuff out on offense, that's reasonable. They were keeping in the game with Birmingham the entire game week 1. I'm just saying it's going to be hard for me to pick this one, but I will make a choice. And I think it comes down to that I believe John DeFilippo has all the cylinders firing right now. I don't know how you slow him down. That is a titanic task that the Generals have as to figuring out what is the weakness for the Breakers, because they can beat you through the air. They have a running back that is playing arguably the best game play right now at the position this season through 2 games. And you are going to have to, I think if you can't get stops, you're going to have to hope that Generals offense takes another step forward this week so that they can play the Breakers way, which is you have to outrun us and get lucky with one possession if you can. I don't know if you can do that. I mean, I'll give credit to the Generals in the fact that last week, something else they did great against the Panthers. Secondary play was fantastic. They were not giving any separation to guys like Joe Walker, to Ishmael Hyman and company. And I do wonder how they're going to take the task of guys like Sage Surratt, D. Anderson, Jonathan Adams, Johnny Dixon. That is a momentous task to do that. Do I think they can? I don't think so. Yeah. I don't actually believe that they're going to be able to do it. Now, do I think that this is going to be one of the lower scoring games for the Breakers all year? Oh, you betcha, because New Jersey's not going to be an easy out. It's going to be a very hard fought battle. I think the Breakers have some questions that they're going to have to resolve in terms of getting some stops, because they also haven't been really showing out on their end. I mean,
sure.
I mean, they gave up only 15 to the Maulers, but we can also talk about the Maulers offense being poor. I mean, look at the other 2 weeks, 31 to the Gamblers, and they still drop, 24 sans a special teams touchdown to the Stallions. They're going to have to find some stops. This is the best rushing offense in the USFL, and DeAndre Johnson will burn you. Same for Darius Victor, and Johnson can throw, and he's only going to get better with more reps. I got to go with the Breakers here, but I'm telling you, this is my game of the week. On paper, it sure looks like it, but one way or another, something's going to happen here to where you're going to be getting your eyeballs popping out of your skull. And I'm going to be paying attention a lot to this contest being played in Canton, Ohio. Crowd's looking good for those 2 games, by the way. I've been kind of tracking the tickets again. Should be fun in terms of Canton size crowd. Should be a good crowd for both of those games.
For sure. Yeah, this game, I have all my eyes. There's only 2 of them, but they're both on this game. I mean, they're on. Realistically, I'm going to be watching all 4 games. We watch all the games every week.
Yes.
But boy, oh boy, this game really has all the earmarks to be a special game. Like you said, from everything from the Breakers offense to the Generals defense. I mean, wouldn't it be crazy? Although MBT only needs 163, 164 yards, something like that. He could get stopped. Well, he could. I know.
I mean, I'll be honest with you though. If this was me last year, I would say, you know what, you might be right. But look at the league so far this year. Passing numbers are up. Touchdowns are definitely going up this season. Offenses have been much better and smoother. I mean, hey, if they stop them and hold them to sub 160 yards for this game, clearly the Generals defense I mean, that's just it. I mean, we'll be talking possibly a new number one in the community rankings after this week if they win, but it's a tall task. I mean, I almost have to peg MBT for a minimum 200-yard passing game, and you still have Wes Hills to worry about too. Like That's the thing that even if you slow down and make them one-dimensional, you still have to go, okay, how do we hold that other side to enough? Mm-hmm. Because you can only minimize the damage in that regard. It's like in the NBA. So you're playing LeBron James, he's going to get his fair share. You just don't want him to get the winning fair share. That's what you're basically doing. Take something out of the game and then let whoever's going to be your guy that's taking the punches at you, only enough punches so where you can still walk away and get a win by decision, if that makes any sense.
Hey, a win's a win. And you know what? Anybody will take one. So we have I feel bad. I feel like I got some of the easier picks this week, but maybe my bad luck will rub off here. But we're also seeing, now that I'm really looking at the schedule, digesting it, really letting it soak in, we're seeing the two teams that were undefeated last week took their first loss coming into this week and really getting a couple of palate cleansers, right? So you have the Panthers taking the Showboats. We talked about that. Final game of the week, Birmingham Stallions taking on the Maulers. Now, the Maulers got their first win last week, so I don't think there's going to be a cakewalk.
No.
But, I mean, when we look at apples to apples, Maulers versus Breakers, now Showboat, the Stallions taking on the Maulers, I'd say maybe it leans one way or the other. But it is, I mean, Bo Scarborough's still out. Jamar's still out. There's Alex Magoo has been playing like a rock star, but this team still has a couple injuries that are plaguing them. I think this is going to be a closer game than many people think on paper, right? I went into this saying, hey, it's a nice palate cleanser. That could be, even though the Stallions took a loss this last week, this could be a trap game, my friend. If I had to put on my my inspector's hat and get out the magnifying glass and I looked real close, it would say trap game, FS1, trap game, 6:30 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, Birmingham Stallions, trap game against the Maulers. But I think the Stallions are going to pull it out. I don't think you have anything to worry about as a Stallions fan, but I say this, I don't think this is going to be a runaway matchup. I think this could be between the Maulers defense. I think they're going to be able to stifle the Stallions, but I'll even say this, less than a 7-point lead will win this game. I'll say that. I think the Stallions will pull it out maybe by 3. We'll see.
I'm not saying you're wrong at all, because the thing that comes with Pittsburgh is, again, I just talked about in our last matchup preview, they have a claim for the best defense in the league right now. You saw, even if we take into account the line play that Philadelphia's had this year, I mean, they smothered them. And I think that I don't think anyone saw it being that close of a possession battle, that close of a yardage battle. Pittsburgh did everything in their power to get 3 sacks, 2 picks, a fumble recovery. That defense is the driving force as to what Pittsburgh is going to be doing with winning games. They almost beat New Orleans on defense alone and special teams play. They just had to get something generated on offense. And credit, last week, hey, best performance of the year. Sure, it was still ugly. I'll be honest, that offense still has a lot to work out, but they found their quarterback. They have an opponent, as much as Birmingham's imposing, that defense has a lot of question marks in the secondary. I'm not saying Pittsburgh's going to be throwing for 283. Like, you're not going to see I don't think you see Troy Williams throw for 283 and 3 touchdowns.
Sure.
But do I think he has a better game this week? Yeah. Do I think that there's a possibility that Birmingham, if they don't make enough adjustments on that side of the ball to where you're going to be coming down the wire? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't count this game out. I actually find this one is like my dark horse matchup of the week, because of the fact that Pittsburgh's defense is so good, and that if they can just if John Tomlinson can keep on putting his system in place and keep just, inch by inch building that up. They're 1-2 right now. That's good momentum. They beat Philadelphia. They're right in the thick of things in the North. And now if you can steal a South game, and credit, Birmingham loses this one, I think a lot of Stallions fans will probably be just like dumbfounded and sitting in the corner for a few hours as like a paid program shows up late at night.
They're going to be hiding from Ducky. They're going to be hiding from Ducky is what's going to be happening.
Yes. Oh, that too. Jeez. Can you imagine?
I'll tell you this. The thing about the Maulers too, right? They can kill you with field goals. They will just slice you up with, because what do we see? 5 field goals this last game? I hope I'm remembering
another
that
USFL
correctly,
tied
right?
record. Again.
15 points, field goals alone. Like, you could win a game with 15 points. Maybe not this one, but you could, right?
My favorite part of that, I think everyone's brought this up now in recent days, is you have a guy tied for the USFL field goal record with Scott Norwood and Matt Coughlin, whose last name is Blewett.
I know, Chris Blewett. Sign him up. Like, what a great name for a kicker. What a great name for a kicker. As long as you don't screw it up.
Drained all 5.
Yeah. I mean, sign him up, right?
You know what's even better? I'd space this fact too. He went to Pittsburgh for college football.
Right on.
So adding on to the local appeal, I like it.
Yeah.
Nice job, Lonnie Young. I see what you're doing.
Getting ready for that market.
But watch out for that game, though. That's going to be fun. Dark horse game of the week right there.
Oh, yeah. I'm looking forward to it. We're looking for on paper, it looks like we got to have another exciting week of USFL coming up. Like I said, we went through all the matchups. I don't know if there's going to be any runaways, except maybe that Panthers Showboats game. We'll have to see.
Maybe.
We'll have to see. But it is Ford Field, so anything's on the table, I would know. I'm looking forward to this, the rest of the season. Like I said, I'll end things off with this. The Motor City Meetup, creme de la creme. Every time we do these events, they get bigger, they get better, they get more fun. But you know what was nice, Zach? Not having to set up a bunch of audio equipment, not having to be focused on talking to everybody, rather hanging out with the community. I love the USFL community. I love meeting new friends. I feel like I may have made some lifetime friends at that event. It was great meeting people from the Discord, and that just makes me so flippin' excited for Summer Stock 2023, June 30th, July 1st. Mark your flipping calendars because we're heading to Canton, Ohio. Day one, we already said it. It's cats out of the bag. Right. We're doing a group tour of the Hall of Fame. We might even have 3 days. That might be day 2. We might do a group tour of the flipping zoo. I don't know. Probably not, but I love the zoo. Anyway, day 1, June 30th, we're doing a group tour of the Hall of Fame. We're going to get some kind of flag so we don't get lost. Day 2, we're getting live somewhere in the vicinity, whether it's Don Shula's or Tailgate, somewhere right there close to that beautiful Hall of Fame village. My favorite village of all the villages in the world because it has some of my favorite players in there and our favorite championship game. It's 7 weeks away, Zach, and I put a meme out last night. It was like almost midnight, and I just felt like I was the Wolverine from the cartoon looking at the picture. So I had to mock it up. I had to spend even more time making it. Crudely, I may add. I didn't care.
You put it on. You got
the point. You got the point.
The message was sent.
Sometimes perfect isn't better. Anyway, I truly do feel like that. I can't wait to see everybody there. Hopefully all the folks from the Motor City Meetup and from Spring Stock and Summer Stock last year and Spring Stock last year show up in full force because, again, especially if we do that tailgate, we're going to have good guests, good food, giveaways, probably more of a community style thing, especially in a perfect world, we get the coaches. It is game day, folks. It is game day, but don't you worry. 2 sleeves, both full of tricks. There's Zach. I don't know if you know what I'm working on, but I am working on something that would be huge for us. Will it work? I don't know. So that's why I don't mention what it is. But here's what I want to know. Like I said, down in the comments below, let us know. Do you want it indoors? Do you want a tailgate? And what would you like to see at Summer Stock? Is there any topics you would like us to discuss? Anybody that's not a player, not a coach that you would like us to have at the event, let us know down below. Heck, click the link down to the Discord below. Join the conversation. Join the party. We're at over 1,250 of the coolest people I've ever met are now in the newsroom Discord. Social media, What the flip are you doing at USFL Podcast, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, getting the dances on. Go and join us. We're always dropping news, hints, and all sorts of goodies over there. You kind of get an insight into each of our personalities because Zach and I both run that account. If you're over here on YouTube, I don't know what you're doing. Subscribe, click the bell. It builds morale. It gives you a good time. Hey, are you a Showboats fan? You 0-3, having a hard time trying to figure things out in life? Click the subscribe button, click the bell, and get that morale. It's going to turn things around. You might even get that sneaky win over the Panthers this week. But you're all going to have to click that. I mean, that's the challenge, folks. How many people can you get to click that subscribe button and the bell? Because that's going to increase your chances of winning the game this weekend with an asterisk. Not really. But I'll leave it at that. Actually, I'll leave it at this. 10% discount. Who doesn't hate that? I mean, head over to Breaking Tees, USFL Newsroom. Use that code or just breakingtees.com/USFL Newsroom. Get you 10% off everything, not just the USFL gear. But, I mean, they got a West Hills shirt. They got a Reggie Corbin shirt. They got a Stars Blob shirt. So head on over there and go get yourself a discount. Any thoughts before we head off into the sunset into week 4 here, Zachy boy?
Just get ready for some more fun with summer stock planning. And all I'm going to say is I'm happy to get a little bit of a break from the chaos. I love you people, but I need to chill out and watch some football and get a little bit of a R&R, maybe at home.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. Go Panthers though. Always going to end the show with that from now moving forward.
Good times. You love to hear it. Well, hey, until next time, everybody, sign you up.